Where should they get the money from if it's not from farmers?
From farmers. Yeah, that everyone.
With
BBC
assets.
thinks you should be paying for everything. Why don't you sell some stuff?
Who's going to buy it?
I don't know. Lots of people are trying to buy land. We spoke to...
No, because we don't want to concrete over the land. I know you're a townie. I know you're happy living in your liberal elite world of London.
Okay, mate. I'm going to have a
I'm not your mate. I hate you. I think you're an idiot.
Okay.
I think you're a lefty, liberal, woke idiot.
I don't like fossil fuel.
Oh, well, in that case, let's tarmac the countryside.
No,
James doesn't like fossil fuels. Let's tarmac the AOMB.
Welcome back to Rattlesnake TV, guys. So the most recent victim of the global attack on farmers is the British. The Labour government under leftist Prime Minister Keir Starmer are essentially trying to tax the farmers into bankruptcy with a new inheritance tax. And we've seen similar measures happen recently. You guys might have been following some of the videos I've done about the farmer protests around the world over the last few years, namely in places like Holland, where they've put regulation on the kind of fertilizer that they can use, the kind of tractors that they can use, and they've also removed essential subsidies that allow these industries to actually survive. And all of this in the name of climate change.
We need to innovate on our technology. You know, obviously, like I had a staffer, release a document that talked about cow flatulence, but...
which is an issue, I just want to say.
An issue. But here's
it sounds ridiculous, but it literally is an issue.
But it actually is an issue when it comes to contributing to methane. But that doesn't mean you end cows. It means that we need... what it means is that we need to innovate and change our grain, our cow grain from which, they feed in these troughs, that we need to really take a look at regenerative agriculture. Like, these are our solutions.
Now, this is an agenda. It's obviously worldwide and it's very sinister. And I don't think that it's something that's going to go away anytime soon. I think that it will only just gradually escalate because for whatever reason, these people want your farmland. Whether it be for the reason that these farmers are some of the last bastions of true sovereignty and autonomy and they can actually grow their own food and they're not completely dependent on the government. Whether it be because they want to build immigrant housing on the land or renewable energy farms where your property is, or because they think that the cow farts and the fertilizer are causing the sun to be more hot, or any other nefarious reason that you can think of. It's very obvious that there has been a worldwide attack on farmers that's been happening for a number of years now, and this is just the latest edition. So we'll get into the details of this in today's video. And we're also going to watch a liberal radio host, one of the most insufferable ones in the world, get absolutely blasted by a regular caller, which is hilarious. But before we get there, guys, I want to remind you to quickly smash that like button. It helps me out a lot. And also, if you haven't subscribed to the channel, you can do so just below. Also, don't miss out on the reality-based Christmas collection, only available for 2 more weeks. We want to make sure that you guys can get your products on time for Christmas. Some of the products include the corduroy hat, which is incredibly durable and long-lasting. Reality-Based's first ever knit sweater, which is just perfect for a cold Christmas day, as well as many other Make Christmas Great Again products and designs. Sweaters, t-shirts, mugs, hoodies, beanies, and the likes. And that's not even all, guys. So if you want to check it out, the links will be in the bio, or you can just hit this link at the top of the screen right here, so you don't miss out on having a very based Christmas. So back to the video. So obviously the liberal elites who have never done a day of labor in their entire lives and who have absolutely no idea what kind of generational knowledge and risk and dedication goes into farming, they look down upon these farmers and they have a disdain for them. They see them as squalid and unsophisticated because they don't have the same level of consciousness about issues like climate change that the elites have. And so, as has been the pattern over the last few years, these farmers have gotten organized and they are marching on the capital, and more specifically Westminster. So what is this inheritance tax and why is it bad? Well, the tax states that farms over £1 million are going to be subject to a 20% inheritance tax. So to put it in perspective, if the farm owner passes away and his farm is worth £6 million, you take away the first million, then whoever inherits that, most likely his children, will be taxed 20% on that 5 million, so they will be taxed £1 million. And in case you guys didn't know, farming happens to be a very expensive and difficult gig. And in order to be turning a profit, you have to run a pretty well-oiled machine these days. I mean, normally the people who work these lands have been doing so for generations. So they're very productive, very efficient. And then when they pass away, they will give the land to their children who will do the same thing.
5 generations, 139 years on my farm, 50,375 days. and 3 children who believe in me and you to save their futures. So buckle up, Starmer, because you're not going to win this fight.
And this is in everybody's best interest to have these generational farmers and the people who are productive and efficient if you don't want the price of food to just keep going up. And in terms of the tax itself, most people obviously just don't have the cash for this. If they're expected to cough up hundreds of thousands of pounds, if not in the millions, every time the land is passed on, then you could just bankrupt them. And you can't just sell the land to make the money because you need the land to farm. And the farming itself operates on very, very slim margins, so you won't be able to produce the cash that way. And also, the banks aren't just going to loan you £1 million to pay this inheritance tax with the slim margins of the farm. Furthermore, food, fertilizer, and fuel have all been going up recently. I'm sure you guys would have noticed. Farmers have also been coerced into taking more climate-friendly measures in pursuit of net zero, which is making business less profitable. The cost of production will go up because of the increased tax burden on the farmers, so the price of the food will go up, and the consumer will just end up eating the cost. Plus, the less productive and efficient the farmers, the less food. And when you have less supply, the prices will go up. So Jeremy Clarkson, who used to host Top Gear, has become somewhat of a spokesperson for these people. One of the reasons, because he owns a farm himself, but also because he is probably kind of a normal guy. Maybe he touches grass sometimes and has conversations with regular people. Check out his response to the BBC's questioning.
So why are you here, Mr. Clarkson?
Well, because I'm here to support farmers.
Right. Are you angry?
It's difficult to be angry on somebody else's behalf. That's like being... Yes, no, I'm not angry on someone else's behalf.
Right. So it's not about you. It's not about your farm and the fact that you bought a farm to avoid inheritance tax.
Classic BBC there. Classic. Oh, yeah. It's not the fact that I bought a farm to avoid inheritance tax. The fact.
You told the Sunday Times in 2021 that's why you bought it.
These people.
Sorry?
BBC. Okay, let's start from the beginning.
Sure.
I wanted a shoot, okay? That's even worse to the BBC. I wanted a shoot, which comes with the benefit of not having to pay inheritance tax. Now I do. But people like me will simply put it in a trust. And so long as I live for 7 years, that's fine. And as my daughter said, you will live for 7 years. You might be in a deep freeze at the end of it, but you will live for 7 years. But it's incredibly time-consuming to have to do that. And why should all these people have to do that? Why should they?
So one of the reasons Rachel Reeves says she brought this in is to stop wealthy people using it as a way.
No, that was the only reason she did.
Well, no, the other reason was to raise money for public services. Well, have you seen...
Are you listening to this?
Have you tried to get a GP appointment lately?
Yes,
Right.
I just recently had a heart attack.
Okay, so you know it's tough.
Yes.
So where should they get the money from if it's not from farmers?
From farmers. You hear that, everyone?
With
BBC
assets.
thinks you should be paying for everything.
Mr. Clarkson,
Okay,
you
do
know
you
it's
know
not the
how many
BBC's
people
view.
pay inheritance tax in this country?
It's 4% of estates.
What?
4% of estates.
4% pay inheritance tax. 96% of the population of the UK does not pay inheritance tax.
Sure.
After this becomes law, 96% of farmers will.
Where have you got that figure from?
Who here, can I just ask, who here is going to be unaffected by these changes? No one.
Right. Where have you got the 96% figure
Well,
from?
you've got 96%.
Yeah.
Well, the same place that Rachel Reeves does, from the middle of her head.
Right.
From the Sixth Form Debating Society that she was no doubt a member of.
Okay.
Which
So-
formed her opinions and yours.
I am not expressing opinions. I'm
Yes.
literally asking you questions. You know that, Mr. Clarkson.
Right.
So, what is your message to this government?
Please back down, please.
And get the money from where?
Well, they've got 40 billion. I'll tell you where you get the... Walk into any of the offices around here. If you don't understand what somebody's job is, fire them.
And how
The civil service... Civil service is too top, you know that. I must get on.
So the UK could definitely do with a Ramaswamy Elon Doge Department of Government Efficiency. Like Clarkson just said, go over to where all of the politicians and the bureaucrats are, Find out whose job you don't quite understand and fire them. Also, you've got a lot of money being spent on illegal immigrants and housing them and giving them credit cards. Maybe you could put a pause on that if money's a problem. And how about all of the funds going to Ukraine? How necessary is that? Just a thought. Anyways, the next clip, and what we're all here for, which is just the best, is when James O'Brien, one of the worst, most insufferable liberal radio hosts, gets absolutely put in his place by an electrical engineer. And this is just what happens when a liberal elite collides with a real person who works a real job and works with their hands. Very funny. And just for a little bit more context as to what they're talking about, one of the rules of the inheritance tax is that if you give over the property 7 years before you die, then they are exempt from the tax. So, I mean, get your crystal ball out.
Charlie is in Weymouth. Charlie, what would you like to say?
I would like to make 2 points. I'm going to correct you on your 7-year thing, and then I'm going to fill in the gap in your knowledge.
I've got the HM Revenue and Customs page in front of me on the 7-year thing.
Perfect. So
it's not me you're correcting. It's the official advice.
No. It is you. You've got the wrong end of the stick.
Okay.
But so with the 7-year thing, are you happy that a farmer can pass it on in 7 years inheritance tax free?
Hang on, you're supposed to be correcting me.
Yeah. No, I'm asking you a question.
Oh, am I happy? Well, everyone enjoys that freedom. Yep. So I mean, in an ideal world, probably get rid of all the loopholes. But I think that would be brutal.
So why is it then that it's acceptable to pass on a farm in 7 years from now, but for someone that's worked on that farm for the last 40 years, all of a sudden they can't get that? If their dad died 2 years ago, if their parents die in before this thing comes in, they're going to get hit by inheritance tax. They've worked that farm for their entire life.
Yes.
Why is that? Why is that different?
Well, you've just explained why it's different. Because the rules have changed.
So exactly
to meet the new need, and also, of course, 1984 was the point this was introduced. So,
that's right.
So 40 years is the perfect point to pick, isn't it? Because prior to 1984, you'd have been paying more inheritance tax, and all those farms.
No, they wouldn't. No, they wouldn't.
Yes, you would. So how was that fair?
No, they wouldn't, because 40 years ago, farmland wasn't the price it is now.
Prior to but the percentage that you'd pay on it would have been the same, not the total.
Percentages.
Yes, but tax is all about percent. I'm enjoying being corrected by you, Charlie, but you must let me get a word in edgeways. Tax is all about percentages, not totals. It's about the proportion of the total that goes to the taxman. So because of inflation, hang on. Because of inflation, obviously all the numbers are going to be higher.
It's not inflation.
Okay, well, because of some mysterious magic formula, all the numbers are going to be higher than they were 40 years ago. But just to show you politely the error of your ways, the reason why rules change is because of economic policy. So your point is as valid as ringing me in 1984 and complaining about how unfair it is that you had to pay inheritance tax last year in 1983, and a farmer who passes away next year in 1985, his heirs won't have to pay any inheritance tax at all. Do you see the rules change?
No. Hang on. If you let me get a word in edgeways now, how much was land worth in 1984 per acre?
But you keep asking me questions.
No. Yeah, well,
considerably less. Well, how much was my house worth? No. How much was my house worth? How much was my house worth in 1984, Charlie? Answer the question.
Just now, you said that if you don't have the information, you make bad decisions. So in 1984, the average cost of an acre was £3,780.
And the average cost of a house?
I've no idea. I'm not talking about houses. I'm talking about acres.
No, you're talking about inheritance tax, which applies to houses. So what was the average cost of a house in 1984?
I've no idea, James. I don't care about houses. I'm caring about acres. That's what we're talking about.
I'll give you a spoiler alert. They cost a lot less 40 years ago than they do now.
£3,788.
But the percentage of tax that you pay is the same regardless of how much the estate is worth.
Right, so you're quite happy. You're quite happy that they can get.
I don't know that I'm happy, Charlie. I mean, that's an existential question. But if I'm offered a choice.
And now I tell you what, because we're not going to agree on this, I'll tell you why.
We can't disagree about counting.
I will tell you.
It's not an opinion. It's just counting.
If you stop talking over me and let someone who actually knows speak for once, and I know that's difficult for you, James.
Why are you so rude, Charlie? It's not my fault. It's not my fault.
You've just made. You are the rudest person on the radio because you sit there with your
I'm the second rudest person on the radio at the moment. At this moment, Charlie. It's not my fault you're feeling silly. It's now 2024.
Blah, blah, blah.
Okay,
the point is, I know what I'm talking about. You don't, and you won't listen.
I'll be quiet for a full 60 seconds.
Fantastic. Right, okay, I'll tell you why it's different when a farmer inherits a farm and when I inherit my parents' house. So when I inherit my parents' house, my personal house, my job, my pension, my investments, they are all protected. Do you understand that?
It's not true. You have inheritance tax to pay on the estate that you inherit from your parents. You just pay double what you would on farmland.
No. My job is protected. I pay inheritance on the asset I inherit.
Yes, the asset.
Yeah, exactly. So my house...
And the farm isn't that... Well, I'm supposed to be quiet. Carry on. But if you say things that aren't true, I have to interrupt.
My house is not impacted by me inheriting my parents' house. Do you agree with that? My personal income, my personal job, my personal investments are not impacted by me inheriting my parents' house.
Well, unless it's a B&B and you work there or something like that, unless the property is part of your business. But this is about agricultural land.
Right, okay, so now let's talk about agricultural land. So when a farmer inherits his farm that he's been working on for all of his life,
not necessarily. We just spoke.
Going to be quiet.
But you've had 60 seconds now.
You're talking over people again, James.
But you're not making sense, Charlie.
Well, you haven't let me finish.
Okay, you finish, James. You finish then, Charlie.
So just quickly, I mean, this is the liberal smugness personified. He actually doesn't know what he's talking about, and he's speaking to somebody who's making sense. So his tactic is to be as condescending as possible, to turn your nose up and make fun of him, cut him off, and basically just derail wherever you can. I mean, these liberals want to be the ones who are the champions of the working class. But then, when they're confronted with the farmers, those very working class people who actually put food on the supermarket shelves that you love to walk around at, well, screw those guys, screw those working class, because I guess climate change. And screw them because these Labour politicians that I'm cucked to told me that this was a good idea. So anyways, let's have a listen to the rest.
So when a farmer inherits his farm and he can't afford to pay that inheritance tax because it's hundreds of thousands of pounds and he only makes £30,000 a year.
Well, can we crunch the numbers quickly?
That's his home, James.
Can we crunch the numbers quickly?
Yeah, by all means.
So hundreds of thousands of pounds worth of tax, presuming, of course, that it's passed from spouse to spouse and then to heir. So it's in excess of £3 million. So for hundreds of thousands of pounds at a 20% tariff, regardless of what the figure is, the percentage is 20%. You'd have to be living in an estate worth sort of £6, £7, or £8 million.
No, 4.5 million, James.
No, hundreds of thousands of pounds, you said.
4.5, yeah, exactly.
So that's 1.5 million, 20% of 1.5 million over 10 years.
Yeah, and how are you going to pay that?
Well, 40% for everybody else.
How are you going to pay that when you earn 25 grand a year?
The same. Well, I don't. How can you possibly be arguing, Charlie? Charlie,
my house is protected. When a farmer inherits his farm, his house is at risk.
Why don't you sell some stuff?
Like what, James?
Well, some of your land.
Who's going to buy it? Who's going to buy it?
I don't know. Lots of people are trying to buy land. We spoke to.
No, that's the funny thing.
What do you want to name?
Farmer's not going to buy it,
John.
are they?
John's going to buy it. John is going to buy it.
John's going to build solar panels on it.
John. I don't know what he's going to do with it, but he's going to. But you asked me who was going to buy it, which you don't recognise.
We've had the offers.
You're shouting at me again.
Solar panels. We've had the offers for wind farms.
Well, there you go. Then what are you complaining about?
Because we don't want to concrete over the land. I know you're a townie. I know you're happy living in your liberal elite world of London. But for us, the countryside is the countryside. It's where our food comes from, James.
So you've been offered.
You seem to have forgotten that. You seem to have forgotten that, haven't you, James?
Charlie, you don't.
Accept it.
Okay, mate. I'm going to have a
I'm not your mate. I hate you. I think you're an idiot.
Okay.
I think you're a lefty, liberal, woke idiot.
Okay, Charlie. The thing about solar panels or indeed wind farms is that they create energy. Now, can you think of any profession...
I'm an electrical engineer, James. I know how that works.
Can you think of any profession you have some experience of that uses a lot of energy?
Yeah, absolutely. I'm an electrical engineer, James. So all of the things I do requires a lot of energy.
Oh, okay. So finding ways to produce energy. At the moment, what's rapeseed oil used for?
Well, oil, cooking oil for a start.
No, what's it used for? It's used to produce energy, right?
No, cooking oil.
That's heat.
No.
Yes.
Cooking oil, James. When you go and get a bottle of oilseed rape out your cupboard, where do you think it came from?
That's not all the rapeseed. The
the
industrial production of oil is part of the energy production process, and the same is true of solar panels. Mate, they are telling you that they're going to give you money with which you can then pay your inheritance tax, and you're saying, I don't want it. I want to carry on earning a pittance.
Exactly.
Oh, well, then we're in agreement then.
We're farming an outstanding area of natural beauty. We don't want to see solar panels there. I'm shocked, but not surprised that you do.
Well, I don't like fossil fuels.
Oh, well, in that case, let's tarmac the countryside.
No,
James doesn't like fossil fuels. Let's tarmac the AOMBs. Let's tarmac them. Yeah, get some solar farms on there. Yeah, why not, James?
I think
hey, James, you like immigrants. You probably want to see some homes there as well, don't you?
Well, down with homes.
When was the last time you went to a farm?
Down with homes.
When was the last time you went to a farm?
When was the last time I went to a farm? Is that a trick question?
No.
About 3 months ago.
3 months ago, right. What was you doing on that farm?
I was buying pumpkins.
Right, okay. So you've never
less than three.
I
grew up on a working farm. This is such a strange argument. In a sentence, I grew up on a working farm. I probably should have mentioned that sooner. I grew up just outside Kidderminster in Worcestershire. The farmers are all around Chaddesley, Corbett, and that area.
So what? Your dad was a farmer?
No, I've explained several. Do you listen to this program?
So when you? No, I don't.
Well, how can you have such strong?
I think you're an idiot.
How can you have such strong views about me then?
Because the few times I have listened to you, I heard how you speak to people. You talk over them and cut them off, like you've done to me.
Down with that sort of thing, Charlie?
You are down with that, I know. That's what you love.
I mean down with talking over people and shouting at them.
Oh, I'll shout at you. I'll give you everything that you try and give me.
Well, I've tried to give you a fair hearing.
You haven't. You haven't at all.
Okay.
I pointed the facts to you and you won't accept it.
Okay.
You know nothing, James. Stick in your London liberal lefty wokeism. You know...
Yeah, just sell some stuff, Charlie. I mean, what do you want him to sell? Maybe his tractor? Oh, well, if he sells that, then he can't farm. You see where this is going? I mean, there's obviously a big difference between having an asset, like an inheritance, like a property, and having liquid cash. Those are two different things. So anyways, we're rooting for the farmers. We hope that they do win this. The farmers around Europe have had a fair bit of success recently, but it is an uphill battle. We look at the Dutch Farmer Party, who have done incredible things, and we hope that the momentum continues. So with that, guys, don't forget to check out the Christmas catalog of the reality-based store. And also, if you haven't liked the video and subscribed to the channel, it would be unbelievably appreciated. And if you'd like to watch another one, right here. Till next time, I'm Jake. This is RattlesnakeTV, keeping you armed and dangerous.